All right, welcome back. My name is Thomas Miner, and I am an agent with Exit Realty North Star. And I brought my good friend on, Jared Nicolaisen with Key Mortgage, to talk about VA loans. Jared, how's your day going, man?
Oh, it's going well, and I'm excited about this topic. When you sent me this article, I was like, "We're talking about this."
Yeah, and it's funny. So let's just jump right into the article headline, and I will I'll link this later in the comments so people can read the full article. But it's a article from Realtor magazine, and it's talking about how there's still a lot of misperceptions of that persist over VA loans. Basically, mortgage loans backed by the Department of Veterans Affairs can make homeownership more attainable for military families with its offers of zero down payment for loans. And many vets or service members may not have what's required to use or how they don't know how the loaning product even works. So basically, this article goes through some of the most common misconceptions, and I just thought in general it was a great article. So I'm gonna pull up what they mentioned, and we're just gonna go one by one if that's cool with you,
Mhm.
Jared. And you can kind
Yeah.
of talk about the truth of these misperceptions as I bring up one. So, number one is 17% of veterans and 45% of active duty members believe that a down payment of more than 20% is necessary for any loan.
Yeah.
So, want to talk about how that works with VA?
Yeah. So, like you said, even with any loan, you don't need 20% in most cases. But especially with VA loans, the minimum requirement is just 0%. You don't have to bring anything. So which is an awesome loan product for veterans who served our country.
And I hope I'm not jumping ahead with this. So, what, like, for non veterans, the 0% down is awesome. For non veterans, what does the minimum down payment look like for conventional?
Yep, conventional is it's going to be between 3 and 5%, and
Okay.
then FHA is going to be that's a government loan product that's going to be 3.5%, and
Okay.
then a USDA loan, which is another government loan for rural areas, is 0%.
Yeah, if you guys leave comments too, the DA loan is one we should definitely talk about sometime too, because I think people would be surprised. I think the conception on that is that it's way far out there, farm towns. If you actually look at the map of that, it's some places that are pretty close to Des
Yeah,
Moines.
I just
Um,
closed one in Bondurant, which
yep,
is like
Monterey. I think
Cole County.
Carlisle. I think Carlisle is still part of it,
Yeah,
possibly. I would have to double check. The last time I looked at it, I was pretty surprised how many close suburbs were actually part of that.
yeah.
Talk about though VA was 0% down. Talk about PMI and how that compares with conventional versus VA, because
Yep.
I think that's
So yeah, with conventional loans and FHA loans, I mean, there is mortgage insurance, especially for conventional. If you put less than 20% down, there's definitely going to be mortgage insurance. FHA does have it, but depending on your down payment, it could fall off. But VA, there is no PMI. There is no monthly expense for it, but they do have what's called a funding fee, which is it depend. It's a percentage of the loan amount depending on the usage of the VA.
gotcha.
So if you are more than 10% disabled through the VA, that is waived.
Awesome. 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 And then, all right, so we'll go to number two. About half of active duty members and nearly one third of veterans believe a VA loan can only be used once.
Right. Yeah. And this is one that I just had this conversation with somebody because you can have, like, if you buy a house, use a VA loan, and then you eventually want to buy a new house without being subject to sale, you can do that. There is a way to calculate how much of your VA usage that you're able to use, and you'd be surprised with how much it is. Like, for example, and this is just one example, I had someone who had a, call it $150,000 VA loan, and then they're buying now a $350,000 new construction, and we were not subject to sale.
Dang. Okay. That's that's awesome to know. And then so it's more about what you're actively using, but you could basically always have a VA
Yep.
loan on your house
Yeah, and
for
you
the
if
rest of
you
your
s
life,
yeah,
right?
and if you sold your house first, I mean, that kind of resets. They do guarantee it. It's not like if you use it once, you never get to do it again. If you buy, sell, buy again, you can use it as many times as you want.
Gotcha. And yeah, I think people assume because it's kind of known as a low down payment product that people assume that it's just like a one-time thing because it kind of gets you into that first home. But no, you can keep using it and keep taking advantage of. There's a lot of other pluses other than just the low down payment option of it. So we'll go to number three. Nearly 60% of all active duty members and 41% of veterans believe VA loans have a longer processing time. You want to talk about processing time of VA loans versus conventional and
Yeah.
how much, if any, difference there really is?
I mean, there can be just because the VA they are a little bit more, if they're going to guarantee a loan, they're going to be a little bit more cautious. But I mean, I would say you could do a conventional loan in 30 days and you could probably do a VA loan in 35 days.
And the important thing to think about there when Jared's talking about that 30, so you're talking about 5 days. In the seller's mind, you got to put yourself in the seller's shoes. If you're making the best offer, is 5 days really going to make a difference in the seller's mind?
Usually not.
Usually not. Usually
Right.
not. And as long as it's a home that can easily go VA, any good listing agent will talk about VA essentially the same as a conventional loan.
Right.
So that 5 days, it's not going to be that big of a deal as long as there is kind of like what you talked about. There's a VA appraisal, which is a little bit more extensive than your regular conventional appraisal. As long as it's a home that's going to pass that VA appraisal,
It goes
5 days isn't really going to make that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Number four, 58% of active duty members and 40% of veterans think VA loans will have delays due to all the paperwork involved. It's kind of the same thing. Very minimal extra paperwork, correct?
Right. I mean, you sign a few extra documents, but other than that, I mean, not really anything that's crazy. I mean, like I said, they want to make sure that if you're gonna guarantee a loan like this, that you're well qualified, but not to. I mean, when I read that, and we'll have delays. I think that's something like major comes up because of a document, and usually that's not the case.
All right, so we can talk about the last one here. Many respondents believe VA loans don't provide much savings compared with conventional loans. We already kind of talked about some of them, but I think you want to talk about some other savings that potentially could come up. I think of interest rates. We already kind of talked about the PMI thing, and then just your ease of getting into a home quicker compared to a conventional loan. I mean, your time to save up a down payment.
Yeah. I mean,
But
having 0% down, there is in Iowa, there is what's called an MHOA grant for veterans. It does run out of money throughout the year just because it is such a highly used product, but it's a $5,000 grant for veterans. And then, that's something that you'd have to make sure you can qualify for. But not only can you put 0% down, but you can also get $5,000 grant to cover your closing costs. I just had somebody recently just get money back at closing.
Yep. And I had one of the last VA buyers I had. I don't know if he qualified for that grant, but we negotiated extra closing costs too, and we ended up negotiating enough where he got a check. He made money at closing. He got cash. So you see that happen a lot with VA, and it's just it's a great program.
Right.
I kind of am always in that camp of the sooner you can get into a home, as long as it's going to be a home that you're going to live in for a while. It's not just going to be a temporary 1 to 2 year thing. The sooner you can purchase that home, the better. And it's a great program to help people do that. How do the interest rates normally compare?
Generally, they are a little bit better than conventional. Obviously, it'll depend on, credit, all loan to value, all that stuff. So it's not like it's 100% better all the time. It just depends. But generally, if they were the same, your VA pricing would probably be a little bit better.
And then what about like effective costs as far as closing costs? Is there any extra fees?
The only main one is the funding fee, and that gets rolled into the loan amount. And like I said, if you are more than 10% disabled through the VA, then it's waived.
So the funding fee, does that end up being about the same, less, or more than PMI?
Say that again.
Compared to PMI, does it end up being more or less?
I mean, it's not a monthly expense, so it's just an upfront fee, and
Oh, gotcha.
yep. So there is no monthly PMI expense for that. Um,
So that funding fee, it gets rolled into gets rolled into closing costs, basically.
correct. So let's just say that you buy $100,000 or you get $100,000 mortgage, and your funding fee is, for even numbers, 1% or 2%. Then you would throw $2,000 additionally on to the mortgage. So you technically would have more loan than the value of the house, but to guarantee to have to put nothing down,
Yeah,
it's usually worth it. And as long and like you said, as long as you're not just trying to live in the house for like 6 months and then leave, you should probably be okay.
yeah, yeah. Is there any other benefits that with VA that you think don't get talked about enough, or have other than this list of 5? Is there any other
Yeah.
misconceptions that you hear a ton?
So VA, they have looser restrictions on debt to income and credit. So debt to income is usually the big one. So a lot of with conventional, you can only go up to 50% debt to income ratio. And shout out to the old Louis.
Yeah, he's really pumped about the no PMI.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome. But yeah, no, I mean the debt to income requirements are a lot looser. So, if you do have some loans or something that you just like, man, I don't think I'll qualify. I mean, they are a lot looser, so you might be able to.
And then you might have said this too. I got distracted by Louis' comment. Credit score is a little lower too, right?
Generally, they're a little bit more lenient, like than a conventional. I mean, most government loans are a little bit more are looser on that, but like I said, with the combination of maybe a little bit of lower credit and higher DTI, the loan still may be approvable, where another loan product may not be.
Okay. Great. Well, man, I think you killed it. I'm gonna put this up just for a second and see maybe if anyone has any questions. But I think we covered a ton about VA loans there just in 13 minutes. And I think that those misconceptions really tackle a lot of what I hear about it. I would say if you have any more questions, either reach out to Jared or I and
Yeah.
definitely talk about it. Or just if you're not a veteran and you want to compare all the programs to each other too, Jared does it all. So definitely reach out to him and kind of talk to him about different conventional products he has going on. FHA is another one first time home buyers have. And then USDA, like I brought up at the beginning, definitely look at that too, because I think people would be surprised how close you can stay to Des Moines but get into a USDA product too. So.
Right. Yeah. There's a ton of good stuff out there, and even if it's not right now, it could be 6 months from now. But setting the plan, getting something ready for you is the way to go.
Yep. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you, everyone. Even though we're ending the video, if you have any questions, definitely put it in the comment section, and we will talk about it next time we hop on live. So otherwise, Jared, thanks for joining us, and see you later, man.
Till next time.
Yep.